Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Oubre.
I'm Aubree.
And we are going to be talking today about how to transition your kids into healthier foods, because we all know that is an art and very difficult to do.
Yes.
Kids are terrorists and they're difficult to negotiate with. And so we're going to go through, how many tips do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like seven tips on how to make foods healthier, or get your kids to eat healthier food without saying the words healthy, as we learned in the last video, because kids don't like the word healthy.
Really don't.
So I've had a lot of luck with my kids. I'm pretty impressed with how my kids eat. They are not perfect by any means.
They're
but
so good though.
Right. So we can teach our kids young how to eat healthy and what healthy looks like, then they're much more likely to follow it as they get older. So my first tip to getting your kids to eat healthier is never use food as punishment. Never, ever use food as punishment. So the way I do it is, tip number 2 is always use a reward.
Yes,
okay?
kids
So,
love rewards.
Absolutely. And then that's good. We're going to wrap all first 3, actually 4 tips into one. Tip number 3 is use low goals for achievement so that they feel like, congratulations, you did it. You took a bite of broccoli.
Yay.
We are so happy, right? So use it as reward based, low goals for achievement. And then number 4 is never, ever negotiate with a terrorist. Never, ever negotiate with a terrorist, okay? So when you set out, when I first started transitioning my kids, I would use something very simple, like meals they were already used to, that me as a dad was making and not that proud of, but I was feeding my kids that way, right?
Good.
And then I did one thing, okay? And that was added a tomato to their plate. Just really simple, added a tomato. If you eat said tomato, then you get said reward.
Right.
And the reward in the long run has really changed over time for us. Their reward is an apple.
They love it too. They're like, I get my apple for dessert. It's really cute.
And so they as you go over time, it's 1 tomato, then 2 tomatoes, 3 tomatoes. Right? You're increasing it to where you want them to get, but never ever change your never ever negotiate with them. So if your rule when they sat down at the dinner table is you have to eat 3 tomatoes to get that reward, and they say, but I ate 2, is this enough? Never ever give in, because the one time you give in, they realize you're weak and they will always negotiate. Have a very straightforward reward and a very straightforward goal to get there, and the answer is just no, you don't. If you don't, and that's okay, because let's face it, most kids in America are not starving. If they're hungry, then they will eat the food. If they do not want to eat that food, then guess what? They're not that hungry. They're okay.
They'll eat.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm going to run those again. So never punishment, never take away something because they didn't eat all the tomatoes. No, no screen time because you didn't eat your tomatoes. No, well, there's a list of punishments.
No negativity around it too.
No.
Don't shame, because shaming is the one thing that's not going to get someone to do something positive. Right? So if it's just, you just make it positive. Okay, you just don't get this cookie or this paleo cookie, whatever you need, you just don't get it yet.
So always use that as a reward. Number 3 is really low goals for achievement. And as they achieve those, you can increase it. Number 4 is never, ever negotiate with terrorists. I learned that the hard way. So the other tip to that is I used to make them a plate, and then I'd say, you got to eat all that. And then I'd go, oh, well, if you eat half, I'm happy. And then it ends up like you're settling at a quarter. So the way I do it now is I fix them a small plate that they can overachieve. So if they love chicken nuggets and they normally eat 6, then only give them 2 or 3 and also have the small portion of vegetables. And if they want more chicken nuggets, then they have to eat all the other vegetables before they get filled up on the meat. My daughter's guilty of that. She always goes for the meat first. And then she's like, well, I don't want the vegetables. Well, you should have eaten those first. So always put less of their favorite food on there so that they eat more of the vegetables before they get more of that favorite food.
Right. And I like the low goals. That kind of the girl that we talked about TikTok-wise, we love using her as an example. I said, let's get 1/8 of a cup of vegetables extra. Or 1/4 cup. I'm sorry. It was 1/8 or 1/4, something very small. And I asked her, I said, what color do you want? I said, what list of veggies? What's a veggie you think you can add? How can we make it fun? And it was putting the power and control into their hands. It wasn't a lot, but it got them involved. And that night, her mom told me she was sitting there Googling green vegetables. And she picked avocado, which is a fruit, but that was fine with me. I was like, that's fine. But putting that power into their hands with a little bit of amount. I said, 1/8 of a veggie, that's it. For 1 week, maybe. Let's see how long you can do that. And then they feel excited. And they're like, I did the goal. I got this. So.
Another thing you can do is try different, kids are very textural eaters. And so you may be surprised that a food you like bell peppers. I never really ate bell peppers raw before. My kids will eat bell peppers raw all day long.
Really?
Put them in little like French fries style long. Yeah, they're crunchy.
Yeah.
They're tasty. Yeah. But the second you cook it, they will not put it in their mouth. They will not eat it at all. So make sure you're experimenting with your kids with both raw food, cooked food, slightly cooked food, and seeing which ones they like better, right? Maybe they like the crunchy broccoli. Maybe they don't like it so soft that you stemed it to smithereens and it melts in their mouth.
No one likes
Maybe
that.
no one.
Sorry, but cook just cook a little better.
Have al dente, a little crunch to it. One of my favorite tips that really got me successfully the kids eating vegetables was hide the vegetables.
Yeah,
That's
is
my
a
favorite
good
one.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love doing, get a food processor and blend cabbage, blend onions, blend bell peppers, blend whatever you want. And if you cook any kind of ground meat with any kind of spice, if you blend it far enough, the kids won't even know it's there. So my favorite one is tacos. The kids love tacos. I mean, who doesn't love tacos? Yeah. We're in Texas. And so I'll take a pound of ground meat, but the majority of my taco meat is actually cabbage.
Yeah, it is, but it looks like the same consistency. Right. And you can slowly increase that over time, right?
Yes, I did. It started with a little bit. Now it's like 70% cabbage.
Yeah. And then the same thing with like meatloaf, right? So put a little bit of zucchini is really good to put in there, a little bit of cabbage, other things like that. And then you slowly increase it over time. They're in your favorite dishes. Instead of spaghetti noodles, using spaghetti squash. Now that's a tougher transition. Some kids can't make that transition quickly, but maybe you could do like a little sample where they have a little sample with their regular spaghetti sauce on it and their regular spaghetti noodles, and just trying to encourage kids to switch, because my kids now eat spaghetti squash noodles and they don't like it as much as the noodles, but they'll eat it. They don't have a choice. So. But that comes to the next point. Transition one thing at a time.
Yes.
So let's say for spaghetti, then all of a sudden you can go to, well, I'm going to get the chickpea or I'm going to get the cassava noodles next, right? I'm going to go with the gluten-free option. And you do it really slowly. So you pick one thing at a time to transition. So let's say if it's goldfish. Let's say if your kid's totally on the standard American diet, then your next step would be the Annie's organic, not gluten-free goldfish, right? So you make a step healthier to organic and clean ingredients. Then you go gluten-free. Then you start to go to the paleo version of it, whatever, like Simple Mills. And you slowly start to do that with one thing over time. So it's not this huge transition of like, hey, I'm switching all your food over now. They're going to spit it out. You know, think about adults. That's what they do with us. They're like, I'm done. I'm like, it was one dish, guys. But slowly, one transition over time, they'll get used to it. My best friend in the entire world did this with her kids, and her kids eat so healthy now. And they were going from like drinking soda and not eating very well. You know, you did the best you can. No one knew at the time. And now her kids are just like eating so clean, tons of veggies. They love being a part of the process. She's an incredible mom. She was able to do that. So don't think that you can't, basically.
Last but not least, your kids have to be hungry in order to eat new and different foods. So the number one mistake I see people doing is feeding their kids snacks. We're all guilty. Kids are always have snacks around. I'm always at the daycare picking my kids up around 5:30, and I see other parents bringing snacks. I'm like, dinner time is probably after you get home from daycare. And so if you're already feeding them a snack, they're really not going to be that hungry. And if you're not that hungry, and adults are guilty of it too. How many times like we come home while making a meal, we'll snack on something, and then you're less likely to eat as many vegetables and things, right? So same rule goes for kids. If your kid isn't willing to try new foods, they're not hungry enough. And so that sounds terrible. And as a parent, there's some sort of carnal nature to like, oh, my kid's hungry. It is a painful feeling to know your kid's hungry, but they'll be fine. They'll be fine. We've all been hungry at some point in our life, and here we are alive. So if your kid isn't willing to try new foods, then stop giving them snacks. Don't give them too much food. Make sure there are hours between meals and snacks, and then always have that reward afterwards. So if they're not eating the vegetables, I'm going to say it again, they're not hungry enough.
Agreed.
So your kids can do it. They are incredibly resilient, and they adapt and change quicker than adults do. So give your kid more credit, believe in them, make it a fun experience, and use those tips we just talked about, and you can do it.
And it's not going to be easy, to be honest with you. It's not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy, but just try as hard as you can. We see grown adults who literally, I've had them cry in my office about removing foods, because a lot of these foods, especially if you are staying on American diet, there's chemicals in them that do make them dependent on the food. Sugar makes them addicted to food. So you can have a little bit of a shift, and you can have the screaming and the crying. I did it when I was a kid. I just locked myself in my room. I was like, no. But they will change, and you just have to keep going with love and excitement and make it fun, and then don't punish them when they're doing that.
Lead by example.
Yes.
So as parents and adults, if you want to learn more, we have courses online. We have a nutrition course and a grocery store tour in order to help you learn more about your nutrition and how to shop correctly and what to buy, what to get, and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So go to our website, look up our courses, and consider taking some of the courses to learn more so that you can help both you and your children.
Agreed.
And subscribe to our channel, like us, follow us, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.